Okay, so you've got this spreadsheet, right? It's just rows and rows of addresses, and you're thinking, man, this would be so much better as a map. What if I told you that you could turn all that data into a really cool interactive story without writing a single line of code? Well, that's exactly what we're going to dive into today.
All right, so here's what's on deck. First up, we're going to talk about the big hurdle that's always stood in the way of making maps. Then we'll get into this amazing idea of a Canva for maps and, actually see how it works. After that, we'll look at some real-world examples of its impact. And finally, and this is super important, we'll talk about how you keep total control over your own data.
Maps are just incredible storytellers, right? They can show you patterns about a city or a country or even the whole world in a way that a bunch of numbers and rows just can't. But here's the catch. For the longest time, getting your data onto a map was a huge pain. You needed special skills, crazy expensive software, and honestly, a ton of patience. I mean, think about it. I bet you've been there. Maybe it was for a school project or a report you had to do for work, or even just a community thing you were really into. You had all the info, the what and the where, but no easy way to actually see it all laid out. It's such a common problem. And this slide, this gets right to the heart of it. On one side, you've got the old way, traditional GIS, or Geographic Information Systems. Think of this as the super professional grade stuff. It's powerful, for sure, but also insanely complex and expensive. And then on the other side, there's, well, us, the average person who just needs a simple, intuitive way to see our data on a map. And for way too long, there's been this huge gap between those two worlds. So the big question is, how do you bridge that gap? Well, the answer is to think about it in a totally new way, to reimagine making a map not as some super technical chore, but as something creative, something that anyone can do. And this right here, this is the light bulb moment. Mappler Lite is the Canva of location data. Just think about what Canva did for graphic design. It took this whole field that was locked down by crazy complicated software and just opened it up. It made design accessible, creative, and honestly, a lot of fun for everybody. Well, Mappler Lite is trying to do that exact same thing, but for maps. Okay, that's a fantastic idea, but how does it actually work in practice? Let's break down exactly how you go from a plain old spreadsheet to a living, breathing, interactive story. Okay, get this. The promise is 15 minutes. That's it, from the second you start to the moment you're sharing your first interactive map. And the best part? Absolutely no coding required. You don't need to be a data scientist. You don't need to be a developer. All you need is your information in a spreadsheet. And the process itself is so straightforward, it really just boils down to 3 simple steps. First, you connect the Google Sheet where all your data is. Second, you customize the map. Pick your icons, your colors, what info you want to pop up. And third, you share it. A simple link is all it takes. Seriously, it's that easy. But here's the real magic, the thing that makes this a total game changer, real-time sync. Once your map is live, it's directly connected to that Google Sheet. So if you go into your spreadsheet and add a new location or just update some information, boom, the map changes instantly. No re-uploading, no exporting, nothing. It just works. It's like a living document. So a tool is only as good as the impact it actually has, right? So let's check out how real people are using this simple process to solve some pretty big problems and share some really important information. Okay, take this project in New York City, which is just fantastic. A civic tech group used Mappler Lite to create a map of all the public toilets. I mean, it sounds simple, but it solves a huge real-world problem. They turned a basic spreadsheet into this vital resource that literally makes daily life better for millions of residents and tourists. And its impact is absolutely global. Let's jump over to Tanzania, where the same platform is being used to map out health facilities. For public health officials, a map like this is, well, it's critical. It helps them plan where to put resources, how to allocate staff, basically how to make sure people get the care they need. It's literally transforming data into a tool that can save lives. So, who is this actually for? Well, as you can probably tell by now, the answer is pretty much everyone. We're seeing students use it for projects, NGOs use it for community organizing, and journalists use it to build these incredible data-driven stories. You've got local groups crowdsourcing information, educators teaching digital citizenship. The old barriers are just gone. Okay, let's address the elephant in the room. Whenever you connect your data to any new service, there's always that big, crucial question. What happens to my information? Who owns it? Who's in control? And the answer here is really fundamental to how this whole thing is built. You are always in control. Mappler Lite doesn't copy your data. It doesn't store it on its own servers. Think of it like a window. It just looks at your Google Sheet and displays that info on a map. You change the sheet, the map changes. You delete the sheet, poof, the map is gone. Your data is always 100% your own.
So at the end of the day, the power to turn data into a visual story, it doesn't just belong to the experts anymore. It belongs to teachers, to community organizers, to students. It belongs to you. The tool is incredibly simple, the process is fast, and your data always stays your own. So really, the only question left to ask is, what story is your data waiting to tell?